Welcome to another episode of Hot Mess Espresso. Let's get into this week. Tyler Wittkofsky, president and publisher of Tea with Coffee Media, emerged from a challenging college experience battling addiction and mental illness. Transcending personal struggles, he found solace in poetry, culminating in his debut collection, Coffee, Alcohol, and Heartbreak. Venturing into novellas and novels, he explored mental health themes in Not Alone and The Seeds of Love. His short stories, featured in prestigious anthologies, showcased his versatility. Tyler's online presence, including his website, reflects his passion for book reviews, coffee chat interviews, and profound insights on various topics. Co-founding Tea with Coffee Media in 2022, he champions indie media producers. Podcasting with Back Porch Parley and Cook the Books, Tyler engages audiences with modern trends and writing secrets. He's currently traveling the U.S. in an enchanted RV with his wife Grace and canine companions. Tyler's adventures unfold in the blog Adventures with Coffee. His journey, marked by resilience and multifaceted contributions, inspires others in literature, podcasting, and independent media. Well, hello, Tyler. That is quite the entrance.
Yes, hello. I am a jack of all trades, master of none, but that's better than a master of one.
That is true. So, I kind of want to dive into a lot of your bio. So, what inspired you to start writing books and becoming an author to begin with?
So I've always been really passionate about writing. My grandmother was an English teacher and later my elementary school principal, so I spent a lot of time with her in the school system. And back then we didn't have Game Boys or tablets or anything like that, so I had to resort to pen and paper to kind of ease that boredom and release that creativity. So I started writing at a very young age, very short stories, comic books that I would leave for my grandma on her desk whenever I went to class, and
Aw.
it was something that I really enjoyed. But as life goes on and you start writing more technical stuff for school and college, it kind of writing becomes cumbersome, and I kind of gave up on it. Moved in with my grandmother in 2019 while I was waiting for my house to be built, and she asked me one day. She says, "Have you written anything lately?" And I was like, "No." And she said, "Well, why don't you write me a story?" So I said, "Okay, I can do that. You're letting me live here rent free, so I think the least I can do is
Right.
write you a story." So, the next couple days I was thinking about it, and one day coming home from work, it came to me. I was like, I'm gonna write a story called "Not Alone" about my mental health struggles. And at first, it was never meant to be published. It was simply to go to my grandma and friends and family. And so many people, after reading it, were telling me, "You've got to publish this. This was so powerful." So that was really the start of my journey. And from there, I fell back in love with writing and just kept on working towards, putting out my poetry collection and my romance series and my debut fantasy novel and stories that I'm working on upcoming.
Yeah, tell us about your projects that are coming up.
The one that is releasing in March, I've got one releasing in March 2024. It is called The Principal's Principles. It is a women's historical fiction based loosely on my grandmother. Story is very fictionalized, but the main character is based around my grandmother as an educator. She was the first female principal in a very rural county in the late 80s, and she faced a lot of adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Overcame a lot of obstacles. So she always wanted to write a book about her experiences in the school system. And she, like me, she was doing a lot of writing and papers for college and school and doing her, reports for work. And she just never got around to it. And whenever I started my writing passion again, I was like, I'm gonna write your story. So I kind of came up with this idea to write Principles. My other story that I'm currently working on and hope to publish in late 2024 is the second book of the Sunflower Kisses series, Love and Growth. That book is or that series is about a mentally ill young man who falls in love with this girl, and they have a long distance relationship. And it goes through the struggles that he faces. It's from the male point of view, so a lot of people like that because it is refreshing. A lot of your romance novels are from the female point of view, so I wanted to show that men can have emotions too, and men can be the center of a romance novel. So I'm really excited for that one. That one is a lot of based on my true events in my life and just kind of fictionalizing them. And because my life has been crazy, you and I talked. We were supposed to record before this, and we were
Yep.
talking about the crazy things that happen in our lives. So I get it. I mean, I'm writing books about the crazy stories that I have.
I mean, might as well. I'm starting to find that there are more and more people that like it, it only happens to them kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when you were like, "Hey, the RV," and I'm like, "No, you're good. You're good. You're good." Like I get it. There's been times I've had to reschedule because my computer decided that day it wasn't going to turn on, and I'm just like, "Okay." But
Completely agree.
yeah, so your mental health journey, tell us, you know, cliff notes, details, whatever you're
Yeah.
comfortable with chit-chatting about, but just to give just to give everybody a little bit of insight.
So I was undiagnosed until I was 21. I was diagnosed at 21 with bipolar disorder, anxiety, and generalized depression. Later or earlier in 2023, I was actually diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and PTSD.
Fun
So
one, a real fun one.
yeah, I've got a slew of them. Whenever I first found out about both diagnoses, I was like, man, this is life changing. Like, what am I going to do with this diagnosis now? And then I realized I've been living with this for 21 plus years and I've come this far. I did struggle with addiction and my mental illness in college, faced a lot of drug abuse and alcohol abuse and because of the undiagnosed mental illness, that was the way I medicated. And not knowing what was wrong with me, I just kind of thought that these thoughts of suicide and death and things like that were normal. And then
Mhm.
once I actually tried to commit suicide one night, I called my best friend Matt and told him, I was like, "Hey, I'm done. I can't do this anymore." And I hung up the phone. And he called me 4 or 5 times, and I just didn't answer because I didn't want to talk. I was like, "This is it." I had taken a bunch of pills and was fading in and out. And I got a random phone call from a random number, and I didn't know who it was. So just something inside of me said, "You need to answer that." So I answered it, and it was my best friend's dad, Mr. Tommy. And one of the things that he told me that has stuck with me to this day, he told me his dad was a mechanic and he used to work with his dad in the shop. And he said whenever I was working on something I couldn't get it, my dad would come up to me and say, "Is the wrench broken?" And if the wrench wasn't broken, I had to keep on turning it. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to keep on turning your wrench until it's broken. And I was like, you know what, that's a really good way to put it, because
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep on turning until I'm officially broken. And it was from that moment, I don't know how I survived. I shouldn't have survived, but I did. And from that moment on, I decided to seek help. I went to therapy, went to psychiatry, and got all the help that I needed. It took about a year for me to get the right medication combination, which is a very common thing.
Yep.
People, yeah, those
Fellow
medication
borderline over here,
combinations,
like, I get it.
yeah, it's tough, but once you find that right combination, it's a really good feeling, and it helps you out of that.
Mhm.
I really wanted to take my experiences, and because I had felt so alone, even though I wasn't alone in my life, I had a great support system, a great family, great
Mhm.
friends, and slowly I was losing them because of my mental illness and because I was pushing them away because I just thought, they're gonna leave anyway, so why would I keep on trying? Why wouldn't I just push them away? And lost a lot of friends that way. But now I've got a really close knit circle that is a good support system. But I don't want other people to feel alone, and that's my biggest thing is being able to be there for people, tell my story, show them that you can still be successful despite your mental illness, what your mental illness tells you,
Mhm.
despite what the society tells you. You can still be successful. Here I am, almost 30 years old with a great two great companies and multiple awards for my work as a marketing communications professional. I've overcome all of this, and I just want other people to know that they can too.
You absolutely can. It's a lot of work, but you can.
Yes.
Now, couple questions about, like, the diagnosis, especially with the borderline, just because obviously we're a borderline podcast over here. Um, did you find that when you were open with people with being like, "Oh, by the way, on top of everything, I'm also borderline," did you find that there were a lot of people that said that makes a lot of sense, or a lot of people that kind of just automatically villainized you? I don't like know, obviously, with you saying it on here, you're a little more open on it. But did you what was the feedback with that?
Most people, like my psychiatrist, because it actually started. I went back to grief therapy this year,
Mhm.
and started as grief therapy, and then went into trauma therapy. And it started like that because my grandfather had passed away back in April of this year,
Ugh,
and it was
I'm
really tough
sorry.
on me. Thank you. He was my best friend. He taught me everything I knew about being a man and being strong and being a good person overall. So losing him was tough, and with the holidays and everything, him not being there is really hard. But most people, like my psychiatrist, whenever I came to her and said, hey, my therapist thinks that I have borderline personality disorder, and she went back through her notes and she was like, yeah, I can see that. And she officially diagnosed me. And it was one of those things that I was kind of ashamed of. I wasn't sure, even though I've got bipolar disorder and anxiety and depression, I was like, what is borderline personality disorder? Because it wasn't something I was too familiar with. But once I started researching it, I was like, I can overcome this. So whenever I started telling people, there was a lot of people in my life who didn't know what it was,
Mhm.
and whenever I explained to them, they're like, "Oh wow, yeah, you've definitely got those symptoms. That makes a lot of sense."
Mhm.
Didn't really have anybody that villainized me, but I'm very open about my mental illness and don't care what people think, because you would never go around judging somebody with cancer the way people judge people with mental illness. And mental illness is just another illness. It's
Yep.
no different than being sick, having the flu, having COVID, having a cold. And people don't realize that, and that's what I'm trying to do, is show people, you can be open about your diagnosis and be strong and make that difference. um, and it's all about education, because people don't understand the mental illness. So being able to educate them and explain to them, this is what it is, but here's how we can handle it. Here's how we can better control it. And here's how we can overcome it. I'm not afraid of taking on those challenges, and nobody should be afraid to take on those challenges, and
Right.
just be open and honest.
Yeah, absolutely. You're literally preaching to everything I've been saying. Did you find that when you got the borderline diagnosis, like it was, um, what's the word? Not like relieving, but it was like, okay, I better understand my brain, and now like when things happen, I can be like, oh, that's this, so therefore, like I can kind of figure out how to navigate that now because it was like kind of that missing piece with everything else. Did you find that it was easier or harder?
Yeah, so whenever I first got the diagnosis, it was kind of like, "Oh gosh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I'm not normal," you know. And then I got to thinking, I was like, "Nobody's normal."
Mhm.
And the fact that I have fought this undiagnosed mental illness for almost 30 years, and now I'm getting to the point where I can treat it and I can make a difference. I'm like, just imagine what you're capable of now. And
Yep.
once I kind of realized that, I was like, this is amazing. Like, it's not amazing that I've got this borderline
No.
personality disorder, but it is amazing that I've overcome this for so long, and now I can be the even better version of myself. Because that's ultimately what I'm trying to do, is become the best version of myself. We lost my brother-in-law back in 2020, and in a car accident, and he used to live his life carefree. He loved everything he did, and that whenever we lost him, I was like, I'm gonna honor him and dedicate my life to him and live life to the fullest. Because he was only a year older than me, so it really hit me, because I was like, he was so young, and
Yeah.
just losing somebody at that age and being able to dedicate my life to him and say, this is what I want to do to honor him, because this is how he lived his life. So I need to become the best version of me and just straight up enjoy life.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. Um, do you, what was the question? So obviously writing has kind of been therapeutic. N-
Yes.
Do you find that it kind of it's a way to actually release, or does it kind of just take the edge off a little bit, depending on what you're writing?
It's a good release, most of the time. There are some times, like whenever I was writing Not Alone, the novella, and whenever I rewrote the Not Alone as a full length novel, it was hard to kind of relive some of those situations because that is based on a true stories.
Right.
And, being able to overcome those memories and fight those memories, it's empowering because it's kind of like in therapy. Whenever you're going through therapy, you're fighting those negative memories and those negative thoughts, and you're finding coping mechanisms and finding ways to overcome that difficulty that you have because of those memories or because of those past trauma experiences. So being able to release that, and that was my way of letting go of it and admitting my faults and saying, this is where I messed up, but because of these people, I was successful and was able to overcome those downfalls and those setbacks. But there are times whenever I'm writing like the Seeds or the Sunflower Kisses series or my debut fantasy Potent. There were times where I was like, this is so relieving, and I got so caught up in the world that I was creating that I forgot about my own troubles and my own problems. So it was a great release. So it's kind of twofold. There are some experiences writing that are very hard, but also very rewarding because you are able to overcome that past trauma. And then there are some times where it's so rewarding, and I'm just so captivated by the world that I've created that I've escaped my own problems temporarily and been able to get into a better place just through my writing.
Well, that makes complete sense. So would you say that probably Not Alone was your most challenging book?
Yeah, yeah. The original first edition novella was probably one of my most challenging works because it was also the first one that I wrote
Mhm.
as a full length book that I was gonna publish. Well, never intended to publish, but once I did, I had to go back through and do
Right.
multiple rounds of edits. So it was tough to go through those scenes. Um, but like I said, it was so rewarding at the end of the day to hear all these people coming to me and saying, this made a difference in my life. I still have people today that will reach out to me that have read the book or read the second edition that say, you don't know how much this has changed my life. This has really impacted me and made me realize that I'm not alone. And that made it worth every hard moment that I was writing through and experiencing. I was like, I'm able to help all these people. And that's just such an amazing feeling.
No, it really is. I get that feeling with the podcast when I have people mentioning that they send an episode to family. And I know I've said that on
Hmm.
several episodes, but it continues to humble me that I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
It's insane, but what was your favorite book to write?
Oh, I really liked the Sunflower Kisses series
Mhm.
so far, but I think my favorite book has been The Principal's Principles because it was in honor of my grandmother. And, I said my grandfather was my best friend. My grandmother was also my best friend.
Right.
They both helped raise me as a kid. They were both there for me in different ways, taught me different things in life. Not taking anything away from my mom because she was a single mom working jobs and trying to support me and my brother. So, having my grandparents there just was an extra layer of support that helped me. Some of my best memories come from them.
Right.
So being able to honor her with this book and tell a story that's based on a strong female character based on her is such a good feeling. And it was so fun to write because there are so many nuances, and I'm so excited for my grandmother to read it. I'm actually getting her an advance copy for Christmas, so she will be getting the very first copy. I
Aw.
included little tidbits about her in the book, my dedication, and then I actually had a friend reach out to me a couple of weeks ago that he found an article about my grandmother being retiring in 2004.
Mhm.
So we took that article and put it in the book so that people could see more about her life and her experience, her real life experiences in
Right.
the school system. So it's just such a fun book, and I'm so excited for her to read it.
I'm excited too. That's adorable. But you kind of been all over the place with writing and podcasting and all of that. How did you jump from point A to point B? How did you go from writing to having a podcast and a blog?
So it really started with I was writing for this blog called the Dark and Veil Universe. It was a collection of blogs. And eventually I took ownership of the blogs. One of them was called Legends of the Veil, the other one was Mists of the Darkness, where we took characters from history, mythology, things like that, and put them in the current world, the modern world, and let them explore it. So that
Mhm.
was kind of my introduction into blogging. But that was fictional blogging, and whenever that shut down, I was like, I need an outlet. I need a way to keep my writing fresh because I was kind of burnt out on writing books at that point. But I wanted to write and I wanted to tell my story and help people. So I decided to start blogging mental health, and from there it really expanded into, people were loving my content. I was getting a lot of views and a lot of people saying, this really was an awesome blog. So I expanded my writing to things like marketing and traveling and publishing and mental health and writing, and just really expanded my horizons to all the things that I'm passionate about and care about. And once I got to that point, I just fell in love with blog writing. I'm a big marketer, content marketer. That's what I do for my other company, the Wittkofsky company. It's a PR and marketing firm, and I learned the, ins and outs of blogging and like good quality blogging, and was able to turn my blog into more of a advanced thing. And that's my wife and I bought our RV last year in 2022, and we decided that we were going to start a little travel blog. We never really expected to sell the house and move into the RV until January of 2023. But we were just going to do a little travel blog for our travels, and we started writing about places around North Carolina where we live, and just people really enjoyed it because we were finding these small places and these breweries and these cafes and all kinds of stuff, and we were writing about them and showing people, and linking back to all of these businesses. So it's just been a journey. As far as podcasting, I never really expected to get into podcasting, but a buddy of mine, Matt, the same guy I was talking about earlier,
Right.
that whose dad called me, um, he and I decided to start Back Porch Parlay as a way during COVID, because there was so much hate and division during the COVID era, that we wanted to show that you could have different opinions and still be friends and still have a civil conversation. Me and Matt have very different political views, societal views, and we would get on there and just debate and discuss things. And we had guests on there, and it was a really fun experience. And then whenever we started Tea with Coffee Media, we were like, what can we do to take it to the next level? And my vice president of marketing, Kelsey Ann Lovelady, who's also one of my best friends, she was like, why don't we start a podcast and talk about writing and publishing and things like that? And I was like, okay, I've done podcasts before, so let's get it.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot going on.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, but how do you handle not burning out, and how does your mental health hold up with all of this?
Yeah, so burnout is a huge thing. I actually was at a job for about 6 years, and was let go because of situation out of my control. Um,
Mhm.
but I was burnt out from that position, and burnout took me about a year to recover from. After I lost that job, it was hard. It was very difficult, and once I started opening up my blog some more and travel blogging and things like that, and podcasting, it gave me an outlet for my creativity, and it gave me a way to stay busy and stay productive in a time that I didn't have anything going on. So it's always been, it doesn't feel like a job to me. It feels like a hobby. Podcasting is fun, blogging is fun, writing is fun, and to me, it's relaxing. So it's not really about, running the company is probably the most stressful part of everything. And, maintaining my mental health while I do that, it's tough because you want everything to go right. You want so many to help so many people and to make this a success for so many other people that you often forget to take care of yourself because you're so busy taking care of all these other people, your staff, your authors, your employees. And I've had to find ways to, I dedicate 15 minutes a day to just writing, 15 minutes a day to writing a book, writing a blog, whatever it may be. Podcasting, we do that every other week. And it's good to have those outlets where I can just shut everything out and do what I love doing. Um, but the burnout, it's very hard to overcome. You have to find your outlets, you have to find your freedom, and remember to make time for yourself because that's ultimately the goal to avoiding burnout is enjoying life and making sure you're not overworking yourself and you are taking those self-care steps.
No, absolutely. That makes complete sense. I had to mute my mic for behind the scenes. Somebody must have decided to dare be on our road because my dog just lost her ever loving mind. So you're
I get it.
talking and I'm just like, mute? Like you don't hear anything. I hear her losing her mind upstairs and I'm just like, oh God. Like
Yeah,
it's fine.
I
It's
get
always
it.
chaotic here. No, I know you have two dogs, so you
Well, we're actually taking in a third dog.
oh boy.
Um, my brother-in-law, who I mentioned earlier, his dog was with my sister-in-law, and they are no longer able
Mhm.
to take care of him and keep him. He's getting older. He's about 10 years old. He's an
Mhm.
American Bully Pit, and
Ooh,
he's
oh,
such a
beautiful.
sweet dog. Yes, but he is very protective and likes to bark a lot at people coming by. So
Mm.
living in a RV where it's so close knit, we're kind of like, we'll see how this works out. We'll see how he does. So we're excited to get him though because he is
Mhm.
such a good dog. Pits have such a bad name, but
No,
our little
pitties are the
Belle,
sweetest freaking dogs, man.
they are. Our Belle is a Pit German Shepherd mix.
Ooh.
And she is absolutely the sweetest dog. She's afraid of kids, not like violent towards kids, but she
No, but
runs away from kids.
dogs can have
Um,
anxiety around children. It's absolutely
yeah,
possible.
and I don't blame them. I have anxiety around children too.
Girl, same.
you know,
Like if they're screaming and running around, I'm just like, "Ew, I can't imagine a dog that doesn't have like, you know.
yeah, doesn't really understand, and
No, yeah,
they're just
literally.
making loud noises, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. But yeah, no, so I was gonna ask too, how does having 2 dogs, soon to be 3, in an RV work when you're trying to podcast or blog or anything? Because I live in a house where she can be losing her mind upstairs and I can still hear her, let alone, like, hypothetically 200 square foot area. Like, how
yeah.
does that work?
Um, our two dogs are really good. They don't really bark. It's more of like if somebody knocks on our door or something
Mm,
like that, But and my wife, she's sitting across from me right now. She's working her day job, so we're very close, and she respects my podcasting time and taking time to blog and write and do things like that. And she actually helps out a ton with the company. She does line edits on our books. She handles book signings, takes care of deadlines and things like that. So she does a lot for the company as well. But the dogs are really well behaved. They don't really bark. And if they do start to get a little mouthy, all I have to do is snap my fingers and they look at me and they're like, okay, dad, and
a
they
blessing.
quiet down. Yes, they're we got so lucky with these two dogs, and then we're taking in this third dog, and like I said, he's going to be a little more of a challenge. We may have to my wife sometimes, if she has like phone calls or something to make, she'll go sit in our bedroom and close the door, which surprisingly is pretty soundproof because she can't hear me and I can't hear her.
Oh, beautiful.
um, Yes, we've also invested in very good headsets so that we don't get a lot of background noise and things like that. So
Yeah, no, this
it's
mic is
been
great because it picks up everything, but it picks up everything.
it picks up everything. Yeah,
Picks up
I get
everything.
that.
But yeah, no, that makes total sense. I figured like the dogs maybe go for a walk, but also that we have an Aussie, so
Mm,
they're naturally protective breeds. So
but
she
they're
thinks
beautiful dogs.
they are. She's such a sweetheart, but she thinks she owns the whole road and won't listen to reason when we're like, they're not even in your yard. And she's like,
Yeah.
but they're on my road. I'm like, that's not how that works. She is the grouchy old man saying, get off my lawn 24/7.
Nice.
I
Get it.
like nothing. I'm gonna get one of those welcome mats one of these days. It says no need to knock. We already know you're here because that is literally my life.
Yeah.
Literally. Like that it just is. But yeah. No, that I'm just so grateful you came on. This was and to chit chat with another fellow borderline is always a pleasure because there's a lot of us, but not a lot of us that are willing to talk about it
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah. And
it's
that's
a hard subject to talk about.
exactly. People, and it's like I was very ashamed whenever I first had the diagnosis, even though
Mhm.
I've like I said, even though I've got these diagnoses, borderline has such a stigma around it. And whenever I
Yeah.
started looking up, all this stuff about borderline and started seeing how people treated people with borderline and reading articles on the Mighty about how their life is affected, I'm like, no wonder people don't want to come out and say it because there's such a
Yep.
stigma around it. And instead of stigmatizing it, why aren't we doing our best to support those people and help those people instead of making them feel worse, making them driving them to the point where they feel like not being here is a better option? It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's what I'm like I said, that's what I'm trying to do is make it to where it's not stigmatized. I'm trying to make
Yep.
it normal. Just I'm a huge tattoo person. I've got 30 tattoos, and my grandmother, she's very old school, and she'll ask me, she's like, what are you going to do when when your company becomes a Fortune 500 company? How are you going to hide all your tattoos? I'm like, I'm not. I'm just going
I'm
to
gonna
wear
look
shorts and a
cooler,
t-shirt.
grandma.
Right. And my wife's grandma, she asked me one day, she was like, what are you going to do when you get old and wrinkly like me? I was like, appreciate the old wrinkly art that's sitting on my arm, like people appreciate these old paintings that are falling apart and
Mhm.
ripped. And so, I can appreciate the art, and it's not like I'm getting rid of it anytime
Yeah.
soon.
Well, my mom asks every single time I get a tattoo, she's like, "Are you done getting them?" I'm like, "I really wish you would stop asking questions that you're not gonna like the answer to
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
always gonna be no."
My first one was for my mom so that she couldn't really be upset about it.
Ooh.
I got the tattoo and I'm like, "Look, I got it for you. It's got your initials on it." And she was like, "Oh, that's sweet, but I wish you wouldn't have got it." And I was like, too bad. I got it. And now I'm addicted." And a couple months later, went and got my second one. And I think the past 2 years, I've probably got about 15 tattoos.
It's addictive.
Just I've been yes. So my body is very expensive right now. And
Yeah. Yeah, same. Yeah, I my first tattoo was actually a tattoo for my godfather who had passed away the year no, a month after, and it happened to be a month before my own grandfather passed away. Within 2
mm,
months, my godfather and my grandfather. So, on the 5-year anniversary, I actually got, my forearm with his, like, an elk skull because he always talked about elk hunting in Colorado, and
mm,
then his signature. So, that one nobody could really complain about, but the rest of them, people are the anti-tattoo
yeah,
members of my
yeah,
family are like, "Eh." I'm like, "You know what?
I get it.
I'm not actually cool, so, like, this makes me look like I'm cool." Like,
Right. That's exactly.
the emo
You
wasn't a
know.
phase and neither were the tattoos, okay? It was never a phase, mom.
Yeah. It was real life. This is how I am. You have to
Every
love me for who I am.
and now that, like, I'm mentally ill and all that, I'm like, "Oh, no wonder emo and metal music, like, resonates with me it because no wonder." Like
Yeah, yeah. I mean that most of your emo metal musicians are depressed or some kind of mental illness, and that's why they do what they do. Like Chester Bennington, Lincoln Park is my
R.I.P.
absolute favorite band. Yes, and Chester, was such a huge advocate for depression, anxiety, mental health awareness, and like you said, rest in peace because he took his own life because and it goes to show that even people who we think have everything
Yeah,
don't feel like they have everything. Money and fame, it doesn't buy anything. It doesn't buy happiness. You can get a boat, you can get a car, whatever, but that's a temporary thing. You can't take that with you to the grave. You can't, the biggest thing for me is I want to live my life and have fun while I do it because at the end of the day, once I'm gone, that's it. All this stuff that I have doesn't mean anything. You can't bury your car with you. You can't bury your money with you. I mean, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it,
Yeah.
unless you're just that obsessed with money, and then I guess go for it.
No, at the
But
end of the day, when people are talking about you, they're not talking about the millions you made. They talked about
right,
who you were as a person. I
the
mean,
impact you made on other people's lives.
not to get like creepy, but every Dateline episode, they lit up a room. Like, they're not talking about, they were middle class at best. They were like, they
Right.
lit up a room. They this, they that. So, yeah, no, totally, totally agree with you. But yeah, no, my favorite song to blast when I'm just in a mood is actually Headache from Motionless in White.
Mm,
Oh, it's so good. So good.
yes. Motionless in White was one of my favorites in high school.
Yeah, I actually just saw them in July and oh, they're so good. They're so
That is
good.
the one thing I regret. I had an opportunity to go see Lincoln Park when they were in Raleigh, North Carolina,
And you didn't
and
go?
I didn't go, and now I'll never get to see them.
Honestly, Lincoln Park in Chester is the reason why I don't skip shows.
Yeah,
I'm like, there may not be a next tour. The band
right.
could break up, somebody could die. Like,
Yeah,
there may not be
anything
a
can
next
happen.
tour. Like, I've seen Fit for a King literally 5 times because I'm over here like there may not be a next tour, or there might be a lineup
Yeah,
change and I like the lineup as is. Like, I want to have that in
exactly.
my memory, that kind of thing. So yeah, nope. Totally getcha. Totally getcha. Also, side note, are you in this like original RV that you and your wife bought?
Yes. Yeah, it's a 2008 Coachman Concorde. We actually got it from my grandfather on my dad's side, not my grandfather who just passed away.
Right.
He wanted to get rid of it and get a travel trailer. We have a motorhome, so we bought it from him at a really good price. And that actually was a funny story because my wife and I, we travel once a year for our anniversary or our dating anniversary or our wedding anniversary,
Oh,
and we go to a different state. We've been to a different state for the last 8 years. And we decided, we spend so much money on Airbnbs and hotels and things like that. Why not get our own mobile house where we can stay somewhere for a week for the price that we could stay for 2 days at a
literally.
hotel?
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to do that. And then we had some very bad issues, personal issues come up in January, and we decided, well, I was like, you know what? I had been thinking about it since we bought the RV, but I just thought it was a dream that would never come true about moving into it full time. And I finally came to my wife and I said, hey, what do you think about moving into the RV full time? And she was like, "You're crazy. I think you're going through a manic stage and you think everything is right." And I'm like, "No, no, no, no. Hear me out. I've been thinking about this for a while." So I explained it to her and she was like, "Okay, let me think about it." So over the next week, I was telling her, I was like, "Here's what we could do. Here's how cool it would be. We could work in a different place every week. We could be in a different state every 2 weeks." And she was like, eventually she came around to the idea. She's like, "Okay, let's call a realtor and put our house on, see what we could get for our house and see if it makes sense." And our house was very unique and there was nothing like it on the market. So we had no comparison for price. So my realtor was just like, "We're going to throw a dart at the board and put a price up there and see what happens." I was like, "Okay, that's fine." So by the time March came around, late March, we had put the house on the market. And within a week, we had an offer, exactly what we were asking for it. And within a month, we were out of our house and in the RV full time. So from January to April was our talk about it, sell the house, move into the RV. So what is that? 4 months?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. So it was not a very long thought out process, but it was kind of an impulsive thing. And but we're loving it now. And I really did it for my mental health too,
Mm-hmm.
because traveling is so good for my mental health. Just being able to wake up in a new
Yep.
place and it not be that same old, and the drama that comes with the small town life and being where you grew up. And yeah, so being able to get away from that has really been wonderful for my mental health too.
Yeah, no, feel you on the small town. I grew up in a small town, and so did my husband. And when we met, I moved to his small town because I thought maybe it was just my small town that
Hmm.
I was just like I just didn't let. I thought I'd give his hometown a new chance. No, no, it's just small towns. Nope. I
Yeah.
moved I moved back to where we are now. Well, he came with me. But yeah, we moved back to kind of the area that I was at before I moved in with him, and like so much better. So much better. Just moving out of your hometown is literally the best thing you could ever do.
Yes.
There are
Yes.
some people that are good with being in their hometowns, and that's wonderful and good for you. Like I'm very happy that you are perfectly fine there. I was going to lose my mind.
Yes. Exactly. I was on the verge of losing my mind, and I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Right.
I gotta get away from this.
Peace out.
Yes. Exactly.
Literally. Well, just to wrap this up, we have a couple rapid fire questions.
Hit me.
All right. Uh not sure how well this one's going to sit, but travel trailer or fifth wheel?
Ooh. I'd say a fifth wheel. I hear they're a lot easier to tow. I've never had an experience with either one because, like I said, I'm in a motorhome.
Mhm.
So I think a fifth wheel. My in-laws actually they did the full-time RV lifestyle for about 3 years before we did it,
Mhm.
and they had a fifth wheel and a travel trailer, and they said the fifth wheel was so much better, and they're a lot bigger. So they have a lot more room and a lot more amenities. They had like a full-size bathroom, and we've
Ooh,
got like a quarter of a bathroom, so it's not really.
yeah.
That's been the biggest challenge is the bathroom.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Anytime I'm in my dad's RV, I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't move." And it is a decent sized bathroom, but I'm just like, I can literally like use the bathroom and brush my teeth and not have to move. Like this is a little
Right.
tiny, you know.
Yes.
But I'm 5 foot tall,
Exactly.
so it works. I like somebody my husband's size, like I'm sure he struggles, but whatever. So camping in the beach on the beach or camping in the mountains?
Mountains. Love the mountains. I'm from the beach, and I have been a mountain boy since I can remember.
Yeah, I love the mountains. Oh my god. The only time I like the beach is like Southern California. I don't know what it is about Southern California, but anywhere else I'm just like meh about the beach.
Yeah.
East Coast or West Coast?
I would say, gosh, I would say West Coast. Simply because I've been on the East Coast my entire life, so it's still very much that small-minded lifestyle here in the East Coast South, and
Mhm.
so I think I want to experience the Midwest. I hear it's very more open and accepting of things and people.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love Southern California. I don't know if I'd live there just
Yeah,
because, just because, but
yeah.
I love staying there when like I go on vacation and stuff like that. I'm at home there kind of. Okay, this might hurt your author heart a little bit, but physical books or ebooks?
For me personally, or would I prefer to sell?
No, for you
Because
personally.
personally, I love paperbacks. I just love being able to hold it, flip through the pages. It's a cardinal sin, but I fold my pages down, the corners. I
Oh,
know,
no.
but it's just been a habit since I was in elementary school, and so my books aren't meant for resale. They're meant for, and I like to make notes in my books and
Right.
highlight quotes, and so my books aren't going anywhere. They're staying with me, so
But have you
I'm
heard
not
of
worried about.
bookmarks?
Well, I have, but then you lose them and they get torn, and it was just a pain.
Oh, I get those magnetic ones, so they just whoop right on the.
Oh, I didn't even think about
Yeah,
those.
I got them because I have cats that like to just grab this. Speaking of cats, there's one right here. Um, but yeah, no, they're magnetic, so they just clip right on your page, and
Nice.
then they
I'll
don't
have to check. Oh,
stick out.
cat.
Cat, cats trying to go after my
You
pen. Gonna need you
you
to
summon the cats.
scooch. So, big dogs or the smaller dogs?
Love big dogs.
Mhm.
Small dogs are buttholes. you know, my mom's got two Chihuahuas, and
Oh,
one of them just nips at my feet every time I come in. I'm like, dude, you got to stop. Like, it doesn't hurt, but it's annoying.
I
And
yeah, I am convinced that
big
Chihuahuas
dogs,
are awful because they've just probably been like super overbred or something, and now they've just been bred
yeah,
into little rage machines.
Yes, yes. Big dogs have always been easier to train for me
Mhm.
personally. But I do after my two, well, three pass, we'll probably get a pug. And because I've always wanted a pug named Pops.
Oh
I
my
don't know
god.
why, but that's just always been a dream for me. So that's what I'm getting
That's so
eventually.
damn cute. That's so damn cute. I like my medium-sized dogs just because they're
Hmm.
easier to travel with.
Yes.
Cuz my dad's got a lab and I have the Aussie and the lab is obviously bigger than the Aussie, but when it comes to traveling around and stuff, it is so much easier with a medium-sized dog. I'm like, I
Hmm.
don't know, as much as I love my big dogs, I'm like, practically give me a right in the middle.
Yeah, my sister has a Great Dane. Actually, two Great
No, she
Danes,
has a
and
horse.
yes, she has a mini horse. I feel
She
like
has
I
a
could
show
ride that
pony.
thing. Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm like I could not do that because that dog is taller than me when it's not even when it's standing on its
Oh,
hind
no, I
legs. Like
know.
just standing on all fours, it's
They're
taller than me.
gigantic. They're sweethearts, though.
Oh yeah, beautiful dogs and
Yeah.
very sweet, but I just couldn't travel in an RV with one of them, much less two.
No. No, like, you guys definitely are testing the limits with 2 dogs in an RV because we've had to when we camp with my dad with, the lab and then
Hmm.
Ascara, and thankfully they do pretty good. But, then you kind of meet in the middle when like dog and human are trying to go one way and other dog and human are trying to go the other way. And it's this big
Yes.
standoff. Like you're in some D-list Western and you're just like, so can you climb up on the dining room table real quick so I can get by? Thanks.
Yeah. And we've got two ottomans that fold out into beds,
Oh,
and
perfect.
sometimes yeah, for like a guest bed. So sometimes we'll put them together and sleep in the living room because we don't have a TV in our bedroom. We
Mm,
decided we wanted our bedroom to be like our spot, no
yep.
distractions, nothing like that. So if we ever get in the mood where we just want to watch TV and chill out, we'll pull out the beds, and it takes up the entire living room. It's
Yeah.
actually bigger than our bed, so it takes up the entire living room. So whenever my wife and I are trying to like navigate, one of us has to like walk on the bed, and then the other one has to like climb on the table, and it's a mess.
Does anybody have like a terrible sense of humor and just try to like roll across it like you're in a spy movie?
My wife,
I
yes,
love it.
she
I
is
love it.
she is very much that animated personality. She likes to joke around and play around, and yeah, that's definitely her.
Yep. No, I would a
She would
thousand
roll
percent
on
do
the
that.
bed, and yeah,
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being so open and coming on and giving us your time and just talking about everything. Where can we find you?
so I am on all social media at Tyler Wittkofsky, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I don't really use TikTok that much, but YouTube and Threads. So I'm on all those at Tyler Wittkofsky. You can also find all of my work, including my businesses and shops and affiliate programs. All of that is on my link tree, which is linktr.ee/Tyler Wittkofsky. You can also visit my website, tylerwitkowski.com. Pretty much, if you Google Tyler Wittkofsky, you'll find me. I am the only one in the entire world, so that's pretty cool.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
There's apparently 2 Heather Harringtons on the podcast, and one is like a more holistic doctor, and it's spelled the same too. And I'm just,
Really?
I've gotten a lot of people confused. They're like, "You are not who I expected to pop up," and I'm like, "I really should like update my cover art to have my face on it. I really should." But yeah, where can we find your books? Is that all on your website
Um,
or Amazon or
yep.
what?
You can buy them on my website. You can buy them from Tea with Coffee Media's website. They're also on my Linktree, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all your major retailers. But if you are wanting to buy my book, I prefer if you buy it from my website or the Tea with Coffee Media website, so that way we don't have to pay Amazon. It's crazy. Amazon and all these other big retailers take a 55% discount in order to sell your book on their website.
I did not know
Um,
that.
Yes. So it's hard for indie authors to make a living, and a lot of our authors we've had to, they're like, "Oh, that book price is kind of high." And I'm like, "It's got to be because we have to sell it at a 55% discount to these retailers. So we only make, like 50 cent whenever we sell it through Amazon. Whereas if I sell it on our website or Tea with Coffee Media's website, we make between $3 and $6 depending on the book. So
Huh.
it really is, it's a huge difference to buy from the author or from the indie publisher. There are also great websites out there like Lazy Creativity, and the Indie Bookshop. Indiebookshop.org actually donates a portion of every sale to small independent bookstores. So they're another one that I recommend. Even though they do take a little bit of a discount, it's not quite as high as a 55% discount, but still, it's a good cause to support these indie bookstores that
Yeah.
are supporting indie authors.
I didn't even think of that. I buy a ton of books and, sometimes I'll get them off Amazon, but a lot of the times I go off Barnes and Noble. Yeah, I'm gonna start going through the websites because I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
it's it takes a little bit longer sometimes, to get your book because we don't have the contracts with UPS and USPS
Right.
that people like, and you do have to pay for shipping. But I actually lower my prices on my website, because I can sell them for a cheaper price. So that
Right.
way they're paying about the same price after they pay for shipping that they
Mhm.
would from Amazon. It's a couple cent more, but it's worth it to me to support local, support indie, the indie community.
No, I'm big on trying to do what I can to support small businesses and stuff like that because obviously I am technically a small business. So,
That's right.
it's convenient to go with corporate, but I'm trying really hard to be more mindful of who I'm purchasing from. So that is very good
Yes.
to know, and I'm very glad that you brought that up because I'm going to be pushing people to go directly to authors' websites now.
Yes. Most definitely. We appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you bringing that up because I wouldn't have known. I don't think anybody does because authors don't talk
No.
about it, which I get
No.
why, but they don't talk about it.
It's one of those things. It's kind of like you don't talk about it because you don't want to, piss off the people that are selling your book, but at the
Mhm.
same time, I'm like, people need to know because I'd rather, piss off Amazon and people only be able to buy my book from my website and make more money, to
Yep.
support myself and support my blog. I'm not in this for the money, but I
It
need to make a
helps.
living. I've got bills to pay. Yeah.
Right?
So,
You can't pay your bills with like good vibes and, well
right.
wishes.
Now I appreciate all of that, and it's good karma and good voodoo, and helps out, but doesn't help with the bills.
No,
So
it does
if
not.
you can if you can support an indie author or the indie community, definitely support them. If not, there are free ways to support them. Leaving reviews, sharing their stuff on social media, inviting your friends to like their pages, all of that helps
Yep.
tremendously, and it's free.
Yeah. That's that does. I feel like that does more than even just buying because it gets the word
Yes.
out there.
Yes.
So yeah, no, yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing hour. I've had so
Yes,
much.
I loved it.
I have so much fun doing these episodes. Like I don't have as much fun with the admin stuff, and like the admin is always, meh. But
Yeah.
this is why I do it because these fun conversations that we get to have, I learn a thing or two. You know, I can get word out and stuff like that, and just raise more awareness. And this is why I love it. I love it. So I'm
Yes.
so glad you came on.
Thank you for having me, and I'm so glad to be here. And I hope somebody in your audience takes something positive away from this episode.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say, if there's anybody out there who's struggling, who feels alone, please reach out to me on my social media platforms. Shoot me a DM. You could find my email on my link tree or my website. Shoot me an email. Whatever you need to do, I'm here to talk. Just to talk to you. My DMs are always open to anybody who's struggling.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, Hunter from the Everything is Connected podcast here.
Heather from Hot Mess Espresso.
And Amber from Connection Over Perfection.
In this world of endless chatter, finding genuine conversations can be a challenge.
That being said, we introduce Podcast Connection Network, a space where we lay it all out unfiltered.
Dive in with us. It's about authentic connections and conversations that truly matter.
To learn more about the network and each of our podcasts, click the link in the description below. The Podcast Connection Network. Never going to give you up, never going to let you down.